In this episode of Game and Movie Weak Points, I get to sit down with the two guys who inspired me to buy a mixer, some mics, and doom myself to countless hours of research and editing. What is up, gamers? It is Tony, back from the Midwest Gaming Classic. It was amazing to meet and talk with all of you there. And at the show, I ran into the two people who are responsible for one of the best, if not the best, retro video gaming podcast out there, Retronauts. I asked them to come over to the booth, and we spent about 15 minutes chit-chatting about podcasting and, what they do, inner workings, and how they prepare for their podcasts. So I was really excited to talk to them, and I'm really excited to give you the snippet of time that we spent together.
Beautiful.
Enjoy. What is up, everyone? This is Tony here with Game and Movie Podcast at the Midwest Gaming Classic 2017 in beautiful Brookfield, Wisconsin. A special guest here today with me. I'm really excited about this Retronauts podcast, retro-themed, a lot of research done on it. You guys could just identify yourselves.
I'm Bob Mackey of Retronauts, and it's a pleasure to be in this hallway.
I'm Jeremy Parish of Retronauts, and I am enjoying standing at a table in the hallway all
It's kind of weird, like these two are standing, I'm sitting down behind a booth, so we got kind of a triangle dynamic going on.
Yeah, I feel like we're, getting checked into some sort of event or something.
It would be a great hallway for street passes if anyone cared about those anymore. If there were still puzzles, but all the puzzles are gone now. No more new puzzles.
Some ghosts and little slot cars.
That's true.
One great thing about the new Streetpass update, I thought, was the fact that they give you more than one piece on the puzzles, actually, now.
Oh,
yeah?
I didn't know that. I finished all the puzzles when Federation Force puzzle launched. I just finished it all. Whenever that was.
We're too efficient to take advantage of this new feature.
Well, when you work in the game industry, you street pass every day almost, so it's way too efficient. But I'm glad I'm here helping people get street passes because I have all of them. But really, we are a street pass podcast, aren't we?
It's pretty much, yeah. We originally called ourselves Street Pass Knots, but this was in 2006 and no one knew what a Street Pass was.
We were ahead of the game,
so we changed it to Retronauts.
What did you think of Federation Force? We touched on that a little bit.
I thought it was fine. I enjoyed it for what it was. As a, the next Metroid game, no. But as a multiplayer, cooperative shooter set in the Metroid world that doesn't take itself too seriously, the final boss was kind of dumb, but I liked the game. I enjoyed it.
I thought it was a perfectly fine game that nobody asked for, so that was the problem. Nobody really wanted it. No, I'm okay with it.
Nowhere. And I wouldn't have thought of this, but sure, why not?
But I don't think anyone wanted to play multiplayer 3DS in 2016. That was not the hotness.
If they remaster it for Switch, it might actually do it.
That would be cool. Yeah, I'd be down.
Change the name, like Splatoon Force or something. Oh yeah, that's cool.
It's more marketable to the kids.
Yeah.
So you are based out of San Francisco, or something has changed up, I know.
We're now bi-coastal, so I stayed in the Bay Area. Jeremy moved to North Carolina in 2013.
Right.
And he flies in to record maybe 4 times a year. But you also have Retronauts East.
I record on the East Coast, yeah. I swing both ways, really.
The Retronauts East is something that just started up. A couple of episodes under your belt.
Yeah, we're basically, we switched from being a bi-weekly podcast to a weekly podcast.
Yes.
But I can't fly out to San Francisco more frequently than I do because it would destroy our lives. Instead of trying to double the number of podcasts we record together, because Bob has a lot of other commitments, I'm just recording the new episodes where I live with people I know. And as it turns out, I live in North Carolina, Raleigh, and a lot of people with video game connections and history there, so it's actually pretty easy. But Yeah, so once a month we do an episode, Retronauts East, with people based in Raleigh, and once a month we do Retronauts Radio, which is either me or me and someone that I can talk to about current retro video game music releases, if that makes sense. It's like old game music that's come out just recently.
Yes, on vinyl a lot of times.
On vinyl, but it's not limited to vinyl.
Right.
That seems to be sort of the main avenue for classic game releases, music releases right now. I think when music drops on iTunes or on CD, it kind of does so without fanfare, but vinyl does seem like more of an event because just the nature and logistics of vinyl, you have limited numbers.
You have the feeling of it.
And well, yeah, I mean,
physical,
definitely like
in your
like
hands.
what Data Discs does, or even Mondo with their original artwork. You have the 12 by 12 inch format, so you have like Sega Genesis box art blown up to poster size.
Yeah.
Like Data Disc, slips lithographs in their sleeves. But it's also just the fact that there is sort of this process involved in manufacturing and distributing vinyl. So it does feel like more of an event, and it's more of a limited time thing. You don't know if they're going to repress it, or if this is going to be the only run of this album. So
it feels special.
There is a little bit of that collector's dynamic to it. That's not really what I'm after with it. I like the sound quality. It sounds really good, unless it's a bad pressing, which I've gotten a few of those. But that is something that I cover, but it's definitely, Retronauts Radio is definitely not exclusive to vinyl. We've covered fan releases, like fan covers.
Maybe SoundCloud only releases, or
yeah, a little bit of SoundCloud. A bunch of Sega music showed up on Spotify, and we talked about that. So really, like, if it's classic game music, then it's a new way to listen to it. That's what we're interested in highlighting.
Nice. Now, I want to talk about, you guys have to do a lot of research.
We do. I would say, for me at least, Jeremy's process might be different, but my podcast episodes maybe take between 6 to 8 hours of research per episode, and that's just writing the notes. Playing the games is a different story, and I often can't finish every game I play for the show, but I try to get enough in at least watch a Let's Play or something like that. So there's a lot of research that goes into it.
It's exhaustive. Like, I don't know if I've told you guys this, but like this right here, what I'm doing here was definitely inspired by you guys.
Oh wow, that's great to hear.
I love the podcast so much, and I'm like, well, I actually do have some knowledge, and I want to try it. And wow, I've had to learn a lot of different things about research, about like Audacity or how to record and what mics are good.
It's much harder than it seems, having a podcast people want to listen to. There's a threshold you need to meet, and that involves a lot of knowledge and know-how and tech stuff.
Yeah.
But if you're willing to invest, it really helps. It really pays off.
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah, anyone can record a podcast, but to put a podcast together, it does take a lot of effort to do it well.
It really does.
I won't make any kind of crazy claims that we're like the best podcast out there or anything like that, but I do feel
I beg to differ.
Over
I
time,
think we are.
We're
Just kidding.
really worked to focus on our quality and maintain a high standard, and there are episodes that we record and they don't turn out the way we intended, and at the end of pretty much every episode I'm like, I would have done this differently. But
yes,
it's
every episode, me too. Yeah.
Yeah, and sometimes we have guests that come on and they're intimidated. They say, "Oh my God, you guys know so much stuff. I feel like I don't know anything." But
that's because all I do in my free time is like read and research.
yeah, exactly. The facts come from somewhere. They didn't just generate in my brain independently. I had to look at them first. So, I mean, like, if you're willing to put in the work, you can be an expert. I mean, like, read every interview you can find, look at every resource you can find. You can be an expert on something. And all the sources are there.
Yes.
Yeah, for the most part.
Yeah, it's something I've had to learn the hard way, and just the attention to detail is what really grabbed me about Retronauts.
Oh, thank you.
And I just recently did see the first Retronauts episode on YouTube, and wow.
Is that Zero? Act Zero?
Metroid?
We were all standing around a studio and Sharky had his feet on the table.
Is that's still on YouTube?
YouTube, yeah. This is,
Wait, what was the topic? Donkey Kong, Metroid?
No, it was
or?
Metroid Zero
Yeah.
Mission.
Metroid 2?
And Metroid 2, yeah.
Yeah, wasn't that?
I think you covered a bunch of Metroid games, but yeah.
And Nadia Oxford called in.
Yes.
Yeah, I thought that was the one where Sharky was like just kind of hanging out with his feet on the
There's like a cigarette hanging out of his mouth, like Dan Aykroyd in Ghostbusters.
Okay. Yeah,
I
I might have looked away or like done something for a moment and not seen that, but yeah. Yeah, crazy. No,
But yeah, that was over almost 11 years ago now. I wasn't part of the show then, but I joined in 2011. So
I was barely part of the show.
Well, you guys have come a long, long way, and I appreciate all the work that you've done.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
I do know I want to bring up Gintendo.
Okay.
Okay, this is where you and I connect because
All right.
love retro gaming and we love Gin. I did get you a present.
Oh wow,
God.
this is great.
Uh-oh.
It's
some
an
local
audio
flavor.
unboxing.
Oh, man. That's
It's an
awesome.
audio unbottling now.
Audio
Bottling.
and bottling.
I think it's an
Plan
unbagging.
for this with my luggage.
Yeah, it's a brown paper bag and there's a bottle inside.
Right. Can you pull the paper?
Oh yeah.
Let's see what this is.
It's from Milwaukee.
Reinforced gin, handcrafted small batch gin. This is batch number 104. So they've had time to perfect it, I think.
Yeah, it's
All
good
right.
stuff.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to this.
I don't know if you check bags.
I do have a checked bag.
I think you can take that with you then.
I was gonna ask.
Take that giant. Where in the world is Carmen San Diego
Encyclopedia.
game out.
Yeah.
I bought that because I was like, wow, cool. It's a giant game for NES with an entire encyclopedia in it. And
Yeah.
It's $20. But I think if I take that out, I'll have enough space for this bottle. Thank you.
I was gonna
very
ask,
much
will
for that.
the
you're welcome.
TSA make you chug half of that in front of them to get it on the plane? Like chug, chug, chug.
If you check it, it's okay.
Okay, I didn't know
brought
that.
it Here to give to someone actually.
Oh,
so
nice. Yeah,
Technically, I can just swap out.
You're just going, you're flying in planes, bringing gin to places, and then taking gin and going back home with
the
it.
Spirit of video gaming.
All right, you
Spirits of
guys.
video gaming.
If anyone wants to check you out, name your Twitter handles and websites and all that.
Oh, sure. You can find me on Twitter as Bob Serbo, and I have a lot of plugs. I do too much stuff, but I will say Talking Simpsons is my other podcast.
Yes.
It's a chronological exploration of The Simpsons. We started 2 years ago with the very first episode, and now we are at the middle of season 5. So just go to TalkingSimpsons.com or look for that in your podcast directory or machine or service. You'll find it. And if you
Yes.
like The Simpsons, you should like our show. I'm really proud of it.
Yeah, excellent. Wow, season 5, you got your work cut out for you.
Oh yeah, we're having a lot of fun, and that takes a lot of research too because we have to figure out what every joke means, what every reference means.
Oh my God, I didn't even think
Yes,
about that.
there are jokes about specific Israeli prime ministers we have to explain to people. So
Wow.
that's why we're here. So yeah, Talking Simpsons is the podcast.
And you can find me on Twitter as GameSpite. I'm, all over the place. But really my focus now is Retronauts at retronauts.com. And the various side projects that I do, like Bob, I do too many things, but I've lumped everything into Retronauts now.
Oh, hey.
So my video projects like Game Boy World, now Game Boy Works, that and NES chronologies and so on and so forth. Those are all part of Retronauts. And the Gintendo streams, of course, where once or twice a week I play a classic video game and sip a cocktail and talk a little bit about both. More about the game than the cocktail.
I've been enjoying it all. Also the Metroidvania, which I don't know if you've touched on in a
I
while.
haven't done that in a long time.
Yeah.
It has some technical issues that need to be overcome.
Gotcha.
I like beer, so I need a beer pun to work
Yeah.
into a like craft or IPA
You
or
could just play Laimbeer games. Laimbeer.
how about IPA PSX?
Bill Laimbeer. Okay,
Oh
sorry.
no, I can play all one of Bill Laimbeer's games over and over again.
What about Comalt Door 64?
Maybe. I'm not gonna say anything
It was
definitive
a
on this podcast.
All right, guys, it has honestly been a very distinct pleasure to interview
Oh, thank you.
guys.
Yeah,
Thanks
And,
for
I
having
appreciate
us on
it.
your show.
yeah, and enjoy the rest of MGC. And there's
Yeah,
not
you
much
too.
left, but enjoy it.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And that's all we had time for. I hope you enjoyed the interview with Retronauts. Both Bob and Jeremy, thank you so much for being on the show. And this is just the start of all the content that we have lined up. We recorded all weekend long at the booth with people who passed by and also people who work in the industry. So keep a lookout for our next episode. Thank you so much for listening to this, and take care from Game and Movie Podcast.